Hey everybody, it is Natalie from Power Moon Tarot. Welcome to your reading. Today's reading is called Time After Time, and we are getting a message from Saturn today as Saturn just went direct on November 4th, which was yesterday. And Saturn retrograded actually from the middle of June of this year all the way up until now, which isn't really that big of news because Saturn retrogrades for multiple months out of the year, every single year. But what we really want to pay attention to is the start of the retrograde and then the ending of the retrograde to see what's going on as Saturn is stationing direct or stationing retrograde, because those are usually some pivotal times that we do need to watch in the world and in our own lives in general. And I think when we had Saturn retrograde back in June is when that submarine exploded on Father's Day. So that was quite the start there to Saturn retrograde. But now 4.5 months later, we are sitting here and Saturn has gone direct at 0 degrees Pisces. And so if you have planets in any mutable signs, which would be Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, anywhere in between that 0 to 7 degree mark, even, up until 12 degrees as well. So, because you can give yourself like maybe even a 5 degree orb there, but you're gonna feel that energy even more so than maybe other people would, but all of us will feel it in general, especially for my Pisces sons right now, who are having a very long transit of Saturn through your sign. And the last time Saturn was in Pisces was in 1994. So for those of you that have been alive since 1994, or maybe you're having your Saturn return and you were born around 1994, but let's go ahead and get into it today, okay? So let's do it. And Saturn, of course, on the bottom of the deck is success, and Saturn can definitely bring that, but it's always, it's always at a price, and sometimes it's challenging. So we are going to go ahead and get into it. I have 3 piles for you to choose from today. Pile number 1, which is represented by the zebra. Pile number 2 is the vulture, and pile number 3 is the lion. So if you want to go directly to the description box below, you can find your pile. And before we begin, I am going to turn on the fan in this room because I need to. Okay. I'm so sorry. I hate interrupting like that, but I'm like, yeah, we're going to need some air in this room. But let's go ahead and begin. And for those of you that would like a astrology natal chart reading with me, details or how to receive one are below in the description box. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, details for how to request are in the description box below. Did everybody remember to fall back with your clocks today? For those of you that observe daylight savings, let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to clear the energy a little bit, and I'm going to ring a bell. Before we begin, let's go ahead and do it. Pile number 1, welcome to your reading. You chose the zebra, and today's reading is called Time After Time, the lessons from Saturn, and what Saturn has been trying to teach you for the last 4.5 months or so that Saturn was retrograde. Let's take a look. And also, what we want to take forward with us as a lesson learned. So let's go ahead and see what is the message for my pile number 1s regarding this station direct, Saturn station direct in Pisces. Let's go ahead and check it out for pile number 1. Okay, pile number 1, we've got the Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck, And I'm going to start with your oracle cards here, and then we'll get into your tarot messages. We have the Fool. Ooh, I like that. We have Sagittarius, adventurous, independent, and humorous. Okay, trying to find the lighter side of things, which is oftentimes a little bit challenging when we're under Saturn's rays. We have here, I choose to take a higher perspective and widen my views. Okay. We have here present, abundant, and gratitude. Yay! Maybe some of you were able to travel in the last 4.5 months or so as Saturn was retrograde, and you're just stopping now to take stock of everything that has happened since then, and you're really feeling grateful to have the experiences that you have been having, or that you're wanting to foster an attitude of gratitude. We have assistance and spirit guides here as you guys embark on an exciting new chapter with the Fool there. And we have, this is from the Listen Bitch deck, and it says, listen bitch, tell all the negative assholes in your head to sit in a corner for a lifelong time out. Okay, now is the time to believe in yourself more than ever. Pile number one, okay? And maybe you guys during this Saturn retrograde, Saturn has been teaching you about staying in your own energy, staying present in the moment, and not allowing negative people that have very, very limited perspective on your life, like dictate, you know, how you feel about yourself. And, you know, sometimes when we're around people that are have extremely like limited perspectives in life, and they haven't explored much of life, and they just kind of do the same thing every day, like, you know, it can affect us, you know, and if we're around people who are very negative a lot of the time, it can really, really drag on one's energy. And perhaps you guys have been working on not letting that type of energy or influence get you down, okay? And I feel like your spirit guides are kind of smirking here because they're like, you know, we're taking care of, if anybody tries to get in your way, we're taking care of them for you. You don't have to worry, pile number one. Just sit in gratitude in the present moment and soak it all in for everything that it has to offer you. And you know, the Fool out of all the cards in the tarot is probably living cleanly and freely in the present moment more than any other card out of all 78 cards. And you know, when we're living in that clear presence, like everything becomes crystal clear. Everything becomes brighter and lighter, and everything is illuminated with the Fool, okay? And yeah, and it's like fully present. And I love that in this Fool, that this card here, that there is it's either a raven or a crow, which you normally don't see in the Fool, but there is one here. And to me, the raven or crow symbolizes Saturn energy, because Saturn, of course, is associated with the color black and black birds. But anytime you see a crow or a raven, you can bet your bottom dollar that Saturn is involved here. And then we see the alligator at the bottom of the Fool, which is, you know, that primal energy that we see, or that the myth of the alligator carrying the world on its back. And yeah, and Saturn kind of watching over this entire process for you. And I am seeing the black around the edges here with the Fool. So regardless of whatever is happening in your world, the ability to walk outside with the people around you who've got their opinions and their attitudes, your ability to walk outside at night and take a big deep breath and look up at the stars is second to none, pile number one. So be very thankful for being able to be more in the present moment, and to laugh at life a little bit more, you know, adventurous, independent, and humorous, and choosing to widen my perspective and telling the people, the jerks in my life, hey, sit down, take a time out. I don't care. I'm not listening to you right now. We have the lizard spirit, dream the world into being. Ooh, I like that. And of course, lizard spirit energy is very like psychic, intuitive. It's full of color. It represents like the fire, the spirit energy of fire. And so, yeah, you guys, and you can see this lizard kind of looking back, and you know, maybe you guys were like, oh my gosh, if I look back, I'm going to be like, fuck, I made a huge mess of that. And maybe that's perhaps something that you guys are thinking is, you know, if I look back too much, I'm going to get pulled back into that old energy, or I'm going to be reminded of some of the things that really didn't go the way that I wanted to, or I'm going to stop myself from opening up a new chapter in my life by continuing to look back. And so, you know, I do feel like this Saturn phase has challenged you guys to look forward rather than back, and, you know, not, even if you're like, well, I would have done that differently, or I made a mess out of that situation, being able to kind of thrive in the chaos and laugh at the chaos. And lizard spirit is also very creative. And whenever I think of lizard spirit, I think of a gal who used to do my hair, and she was fantastic. She moved to a different state, but lizards were kind of like her totem animal. And she was this very quirky Aquarius, and she was always, but I think she had a lot of Pisces in her chart too. But anyway, she was always, you know, she was a very kind, compassionate person. She's also very artistic and creative and kind of dreamy. And, you know, who says that a Saturn transit all has to be, you know, hard, cold, dead reality? Maybe Saturn is really helping you guys open up to a wider view here. We have Warrior Woman. Have you answered your deepest calling? Ooh, okay. Suit up, pile number one. We have here destruction. Oh my gosh. And yeah, that whole energy I was talking about earlier of looking back at something and being like, you know, I made a big mess of that, or I'm afraid that I ruined a chance that I had, or I'm afraid that I ruined an opportunity that I had, or I'm afraid that I didn't like strike when the iron is hot, or at the time I wasn't able to see things like I see them now. And I feel like, you know, the message here is no harm, no foul. Like you certainly see things clearly now, pile number one, okay? And regardless of whatever happened in the past, just know that you were right to stand up for yourself, and you were right to cut something out of your life if that's what you needed to do, okay? And doing all that has really, you know, doing the dirty work, quote unquote, the Saturn dirty work of dealing with the destruction and having to call the shots and having to maybe even be a little bit brutal with your honesty with certain people in your life, as far as, you know, how much influence you're going to let them have over you and your voice and your mind and all of that. I feel like, you know, you guys are kind of like, no, more than kind of like, no, you're like, absolutely not. And instead, you know, as a prize for doing that, I feel like pile number one, you're like moving into this next phase a lot lighter, actually. And you're like, damn, you know, I feel lighter. I feel more present. I feel more grateful for things in my life. I feel more like there's more possibilities for me than I did before by doing the dirty work of, you know, facing the truth of something. And if something needs to fall apart, like letting it fall apart and letting it be what it is, so then you can come back with a clean slate. We have surrender here. Wow. Let go of the internal and external struggles in your life. Give up the fight to control others and situations. Yeah, right? Give up the need to fight with other people. Give up the need to control a situation. Just, you know, let the situation be what it's going to be. If it's going to fall apart, then it actually clears the way for something far more light and fun for you. Relinquish your need to be right and surrender to a higher power. And, you know, what's interesting about this, tell the negative assholes in your head to sit in the corner for a lifelong timeout, whether that's your internal struggles or external struggles with other people. It's just saying, you know, stop trying to prove yourself to whoever. It doesn't matter. You know who you are. You know, you don't need to. Sometimes the most like life-saving thing to do for yourself is to just let go and relinquish your need to be right and say, this isn't even something like in 100 years, is this situation even going to be that big of a deal to me? And instead just be more in the present moment. And I do feel like it opens up opportunities for you guys, perhaps, you know, trying new things, traveling, going places. Now, you could have, for those of you that have been going new places and trying things and doing new adventures and things like that in your life, you could have during this Saturn period encountered some nastiness in your pursuit of that. And, you know, Saturn has, because Saturn does have that energy of not letting a situation get the best of you emotionally. It does have a very stoic kind of energy to it with Saturn. And Saturn really isn't hung up on one-upping ego games and having to prove one is right. Like Saturn is like, let me exert because life is hard work. So let me exert the least amount of energy as possible and then save the rest of that energy to really enjoy my life. And perhaps you guys have really been working on that sovereignty. We see the Queen of Wands here, and it says charisma on this card. So perhaps you're feeling, after letting go of a lot of these internal and external struggles. And I feel like a lot of the internal and external struggles have been with the mind, because we're seeing the warrior woman here with the sword, which is reminding me of the Queen of Swords. So, you know, the Queen of Wands is less about that. She's more about living in the moment and, you know, carpe diem, baby, that type of energy. And because she's not overthinking every little thing with the Queen of Wands, she's able to be much more like charismatic in the moment. Now, I'm not dissing on the Queen of Swords because I love the Queen of Swords, but I kind of feel like more thinking and over analyzing is not really what you guys need right now. It's almost like you need a breath of fresh air rather than like more thoughts, more worrying, more like, you know, just more thoughts and more worrying. No, thank you. Let's go ahead and see the message here. We have the Knight of Swords and drama. Oh my goodness. We have the Eight of Swords and anxiety. Yeah, there may have been a particular person during this last 4 to 5 months, pile number one, that's been creating a lot of like drama by the things they've been saying or doing, and then acting like they don't know what you're talking about when you bring it up. And some of you guys may feel like, yeah, this person's like a gaslighter and they're always, you know, making me nervous all the time. And I feel like your decision to kind of like let go of the argument, let go of the fight and the need to be right, like really does help you guys. And I also feel that you guys are very smart and knowledgeable, pile number one. And perhaps some of you get, if you like at work or in conversation with people, sometimes maybe you worry about saying the wrong thing, or you worry about making a mistake as well, or you've just been around a lot of people who constantly, like if you use a word in a sentence, they like inappropriately, they like jump down your throat and like correct you and all, and just really, you know, perhaps some of you grew up around people like that who were very critical of you, or maybe some of you here have even at times been afraid of confrontation at some points, okay? But I do feel like there is somebody that their presence or their energy and I do feel like this person's energy is very chaotic, or they are very like, and I don't know why I just got that word from Dungeons and Dragons, like chaotic neutral or something. I don't know if this person, like, they're just kind of all over the place, and perhaps something about the way that they think or the way they speak to you or the way they comment on the things that you're doing makes you filled with anxiety or nervousness, because perhaps this person is very judgmental of you. And sometimes we can really, if you grew up around energy like that, you can really internalize that message of the inner critic as well too. And so, yeah, I think that's an interesting point right there, pile number one. And you guys kind of working on that energy of identifying that internal critic and being like, no, that's not it for me. Ooh, I love it. I love it. We have the Knight of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. And trust your Dharma, pile number one. And this is so interesting because it says here, have you answered your deepest calling? And maybe there is a part of you that is like, no, I haven't answered my deepest calling, and I'm not sure what to say or what to do anyway, okay? But I feel like this period that you've been going through, like Saturn has been showing you, Knight of Pentacles, like everything's gonna be okay, okay? And everything's gonna be all right. Like, trust in the process, trust in your gains and trust in your process, and don't let people shake your confidence or rattle you in any way. Do you know what I'm saying, pile number one? Don't let people or situations rattle you to the point where it's putting you in overthinking, overanalyzing. The point is to be calm in your nervous system, and you're gonna be able to recognize the opportunities when they come, and you're gonna have the energy for it and also the money for it, and maybe some of you are needing money for a particular thing that you want to do, or you're needing investment, or you're needing to put more time into what you feel is closer to your life purpose than what you've been doing in the past. But I actually feel like this whole Saturn retrograde has really put you guys in a place to make some strong investments into your future and into what, and into your Dharma. And, it says right here, what's so funny is it says trust and karma. Okay. So trust in the karma, trust in the karmic wheel of life, pile number one. Sometimes we're a little shaky and we're a little like nervous, and then other times we feel very solid and we feel like we're progressing and we're moving forward, and the ground underneath us feels very solid. And I feel like Spirit is saying here, trust in your karma. Like your spirit guides are saying, you actually have good karma, and you've got some good karma coming your way, pile number one. And the only way that you can kind of like and I don't even want to say mess it up, because you can't really mess it up, but the only way that you can kind of get caught up is if you go back and and you keep engaging in this old conversation about things that like don't really go anywhere. And the fact of the matter is that you and another person have a very different viewpoint, and perhaps you're starting to acknowledge that because you are seeing the higher perspective, and you do see a wider view than some of the other people in your life, or perhaps a particular person. And I just want you to know that you will move on from this energy, pile number one. It's been testing you in a little bit of ways here, and I feel there's been some anxiety about a conversation with a particular person. It could be with an air sign, okay, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. And then we have the Knight of Pentacles here, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But there could be a thing where you and this person are not on the same page, and every time you talk, it just upsets you, or it puts you in your head, or it's an old conversation that you really don't want to keep kind of going back to. And I feel like, in the future, I don't feel like you're going to be questioning yourself so much or questioning situations so much. I feel you're going to be like on solid ground, and I feel like you're moving forward to a much more, stable, kind of like bigger, more like, because sometimes we can kind of get locked into like shitty moments with other people, you know what I mean? And they're trying to tell us, the situation is trying to teach us something, an old lesson, that we've been trying to get for a long time. And I feel like you guys are also going to have the time, money, and resources, I feel, to pull something off as it relates to a big dream of yours. And perhaps you're realizing, look, I can either like stay in this energy and be super nervous and be constantly like tightly wound up, or I can just take steps every day, relax, and keep watching my future and my dharma kind of unfold. And yeah, your guides are just saying, trust in your karma, trust in karma in general, trust in karma in general. In the present moment, it's okay to surrender if you don't feel like going down an old path, or you don't feel like revisiting something. Okay, pile number 1, that is what I am getting for you, my loves. I hope that reading resonated for you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts or your comments or your feedback. Thank you so much, pile number 1, and take care. Let's move on to pile number 2. Okay, let's do it. Pile number 2, welcome to your reading. You chose the Vulture, and today's reading is called Time After Time, Messages from Saturn. Saturn direct, okay? So Saturn has just stationed direct, which, I was saying in the intro, Saturn retrogrades for 4 to 5 months out of the year, every single year. But we really want to pay close attention to these, the times when Saturn goes direct or goes retrograde. So we're really looking at the lessons and the tips and the feedback that you've been working on for the last 4 or 5 months or so, pile number 2, and what you can be looking forward to in the future, okay? So let's go ahead, and you guys pick the Vulture. I love Vulture. Vulture energy is very Saturnian, I feel. Very, anytime you've got a black bird, or you've got, and I know vultures can be, I think, different colors, but anytime you've got a black bird that's not letting anything go to waste, that's very Saturnian. So let's go ahead and check in for pile number 1 and see what is the message regarding the Saturn station direct. I keep getting cards falling out on the table, but we're being really intentional here because Saturn is like cracking the whip. Discipline, discipline, organize, okay? We have Temperance on the bottom of the deck. And let's check out your oracle cards. We have the 10 of Swords, pile number 2. We have As Above, So Below. Spiritual realm can be affected by what you do here in the physical world. As above, so below. We have I can guide and lead others wisely and with love. Okay, really trusting in your ability to make good choices for yourself, which in the past with this 10 of Swords, perhaps you were not trusting in yourself as much. Pile number 2, we have Mercury, messages, travel, and communication. Ooh, I like that. Okay, I can guide and lead others wisely with love, with messages. We have avoidance and stalemate. Okay. A lot of lessons in this Saturn period about communication for you guys, pile number 2, okay? And, what you avoid saying versus what you say, what you're maybe afraid to say, or the things that, you avoid thinking about or talking about because they're just too painful. And maybe sometimes wondering like what is this all for anyway? Pile number 2. So let's see. This is the Listen Bitch deck. Listen, bitch, don't water yourself down for anyone. They can take all of you or nothing at all. I love that. And what's interesting with Temperance on the bottom of the deck is, Temperance is it's a little bit of a watering down of your energy. And perhaps some of you have been, and this poor little Temperance angel here, she looks kind of pissed off actually at having to downplay herself or downplay something about her life because of, other people because of whatever situations are going on, and maybe feeling like I can't really be like myself and I have to like be this watered down version of myself, and I'm getting sick of it. Okay. And perhaps some of you are dealing with that energy at work, and you're sick and tired of it, or you're dealing with it around friends, family, loved ones, etc. And it's like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. And I can see where it's like you guys are, people don't realize how much focus and concentration it takes sometimes to like always be considering what other people want and need, and always be trying to balance that out with your own wants and needs. And, perhaps some of you, because Saturn really does have to do with concentration, but perhaps some of you have really felt during this Saturn period like your concentration has been kind of shit, or that normally you are like a very concentrated or focused person, but lately, like when you just feel kind of resentful, or maybe you feel like you are avoiding something, and it's like, I don't want to avoid my responsibilities, but at the same time, this is torture because I don't like being here, okay, is what I'm getting for some of you guys, where you're like, I don't like this environment, I don't like this job, I don't like this freaking boss, I don't like this group of friends anymore, like I feel like I'm just putting up with shit and I'm sick of it. And perhaps some of you have, really wanted to like say something with this Mercury and messages, but you were kind of like avoiding a conversation and instead, watering yourself down for other people. And perhaps some of you are like, yeah, I have been like disappointed in myself too, because I know I'm doing this, okay? And yeah, and I get that you guys have been feeling some pressure too, just pressure in general to just responsibilities and pressure is what I'm getting here too. So let's see what else we have. We have the turtle spirit, slow and steady wins the race, right? Needing to take a deep breath and go at a medium pace. And there is a lot of good lessons with Temperance about, slowing down and taking it easy. And although I'll tell you what, Temperance is not a sit on your ass type of a card either, but but it is also about balance too, and handling our emotions and our passions wisely, and perhaps you guys have been really working on that. But I also feel like the pace has maybe been frustrating to you guys. But I also feel like you guys are starting to draw a distinction between watering yourself down for other people and how just the slowness of the pace, and how like, some people just can't absorb that much, or because of other people's limitations, they can't really see something or maybe get it as quickly as you do. But I feel that's also been frustrating for you guys in a way as well. And of course, when we talk about being very slow and deliberate and taking time at something, that is a very Saturnian type of a thing. And of course, turtles are like super, super old, like prehistoric. They've been around forever, which is another thing that Saturn rules, is aging, or the process of aging and old age, but also, you know, slowly going through the motions. And it's like, you know, I feel you guys have been kind of frustrated with this, because it's like, no matter how slow I go, or no matter I try to explain something 50 different ways, like these people are just not hearing me, or I don't, you know, I just, and perhaps you've learned that you have to slow down and take it down a notch. Otherwise, somebody isn't going to get the message. And perhaps some of you guys are dealing, I'm getting people's children here as well. So perhaps there's been some frustration in like the parent-child communication, and you're really having to really break things down and really explain things slowly in order for somebody to get something. And I get that that can be, or for my teachers out there who are teaching something and it's like, oh my gosh, I literally can't do this again. And it's like, I feel this Saturn period of the last 4.5 months has really been testing your guys' patience in a lot of ways. And, you know, and here I can guide and lead others wisely and with love. And perhaps there is a conversation that you've been avoiding with certain people in your life, and you've just been taking things real slow, you know, trying to be real accommodating, etc. But at the same time, I feel like you guys are like, man, this is dragging. This is really, really dragging, and it's really uncomfortable. Okay. And, you know, and the funny thing about Saturn, well, it's not funny, haha, but the interesting thing about Saturn is Saturn will show us like how miserable we're willing to be, right? Like how actually miserable am I willing to be for this particular situation? And if you hit your threshold, 10 of Swords, and you're like, okay, I am done. I need, you know, I need a break from this, or, you know, I'm gonna blow a gasket over here. And I feel like, you know, yeah, definitely. And I also feel with this as above, so below, that, you know, when things kind of really like lag in our world, in the physical world, I also feel like things lag in the spiritual world as well, or things are really, and, you know, sometimes there's a value to going slowly and doing things at a medium pace, because it helps us understand things better, you know. And for those of you who are teachers in some capacity, you know, sometimes you just have to keep breaking something down over and over and over again until people kind of get it. And yeah, so anyway, and I don't mean just teachers who are actually like teaching in a classroom. I mean, like anytime you have to explain something to someone, or anytime you have to, you know, slow down your thought process and like really break it down for somebody, okay? And, you know, perhaps you guys have been, there's been a little bit of a daydreamy type of a thing too. And maybe you were feeling very mentally overwhelmed. And so things have just been moving very, very slowly, and perhaps in progressing towards a goal, because I am getting an energy here of somebody like, you know, going back to school or going to night school, or it's like you work full time, but then you're also going back to school for something else. Perhaps you haven't felt like studying, or you felt kind of blocked, or you just felt very slow, or you feel like, I am not getting something here. And it's embarrassing because I feel like I'm the one holding everyone back, and I don't want to ask the question. So now I feel weird about it. Okay. So I'm kind of getting this kind of thing going on for you. And it really has been an issue with communication for sure. Pile number 2. And, not everybody learns at the same pace, and not everybody. So if you are in that position where you feel like you're the one that is really trying to learn something, and you just keep feeling like you're stumbling and stubbing your toe over and over and over again, it's like, go easy on yourself as well, pile number 2, okay? We have here leap, you go first, the universe will catch you. Oh, all righty then. And as above, so below. You go first, the universe will catch you, okay? And maybe some people have to catch up to you a little bit, pile number 2, with where you want to head and where you want to go. But perhaps you felt kind of emotional about leaving somebody behind, or even for my teachers out there who had to fail somebody and leave someone behind, or whatever you've got going on where you feel like, I've got to leave this situation behind, or I need to have a conversation with somebody. And because they're moving so slowly, and they're not really, it's never going to happen unless I just go out on a limb and say something first, And so I do feel like you guys are kind of, perhaps you've been a little bit torn in this, last 4 to 5 month period of this Saturn and Pisces period, where you're like, damn, things are moving really slow. And I mean, I wish they would go faster, but at the same time, you're like, but I know I need to make the move or have the conversation or put myself out there, but I'm also a little bit scared too. So I kind of feel like this thing is going on for you right now, pile number 2. We have love. Wow. Okay. And, perhaps some of you have been involved in a love situation too, where it's like, okay, I need to tell someone how I'm feeling with the water here, or I need to let them know how I'm feeling, but I'm afraid that I'm going to be like too much for that person, or what I'm going to say is going to be too much for that person, but that person's moving so freaking slow, like it's not going to go anywhere unless I take an emotional risk, with this leap card here. And, yeah, and Spirit just saying, maybe you guys have been learning that like playing it safe or watering yourself down for other people is like killing your vibe, or it's killing your energy, or, and this is this whole thing about leading. And I can guide and lead others wisely and with love. Now, people can always decide whether they want to go on that journey with you or not, pile number 2. But the point is that you're taking it. You know what I mean? And perhaps some of you were wanting to talk about traveling or going to see somebody that you care about here, but it's like they were never bringing it up, or so you just went ahead and, said something, but then you found out that that person actually wants to take things a lot slower, and maybe perhaps like you were a little embarrassed by that, or you felt a little weird about that. I feel like Saturn is teaching you guys, don't worry so much and don't take things so personally. And sometimes other people you got to be the one to leap out there and like say what you're feeling, and you need to be the one to really put it out there. Otherwise, things will continue to move at a glacier pace. You know what I'm saying, pile number 2? And maybe you feel like if you say something, it's going to be too much, or just trust that there is a big message here about trusting in yourself and trusting your feelings and going for it. It doesn't mean that the other person is going to be like, wow, yay, and like immediately jump on board. You know what I mean, pile number 2? It doesn't mean that what it means is that you were successful in telling someone how you feel, and you were successful at putting yourself out there. And that is a necessary step if we're trying to, bond with someone or let someone else get to know us. And perhaps you guys have, maybe you haven't wanted to reveal too much here with this Temperance, but at the same time, it's killing you and you're mentally exhausted from it. but I kind of feel like this Saturn period has really been saying it's important that you talk about your feelings, because other people need to hear what you have to say too, because they can relate to you and you have something to teach other people about these issues. Pile number 2, even, and it doesn't even have to be in a classroom or anything formal. Like, you've got something to teach other people. You've got internal wisdom to share, and your feelings matter. And you can't keep watering down what you want to say and what you want to do for other people, you know? So that's a huge energy here. Oop, yep, here we go, communication. And we see the face of a particular person here. And so what are you having difficulty communicating? Do you feel emotionally disconnected? Why is it not working smoothly in your life? Okay. And yeah, and this may have to do with, you know, perhaps some of you have had some communication difficulties in your love life as well. Perhaps, you know, you guys have had, there's a certain person that you've been trying to, you know, get on the same page, but then you're afraid if I say too much, then, you know, it's not going to work out. But this is something that this Saturn period is trying to teach you. What are you having difficulty communicating? 10 of Swords, okay? Maybe you're having difficulty communicating like a fear about something or a phobia about something. Do you feel emotionally disconnected? Mercury, communication, water, feelings, avoidance, and stalemate. You know, the thing is that when we avoid like what we're feeling, or we avoid communicating what we're feeling, our world kind of like goes gray and it gets really boring, and there's not a lot of color in our world, you know? And when that happens, and I feel like you guys really do bring a lot of, you know, color to situations. So to kind of like water yourself down, you know, while I feel like your intentions are noble, pile number 2, I just feel like it's been like nails on a chalkboard at the same time. And I do feel like this Saturn period has been a bit uncomfortable for you guys, but at the same time, it's really asking a lot of you at the same time. And so that is challenging, pile number 2. It really is. I totally get it. But at the same time, I feel like future you is thanking you for just jumping out and putting it out there, okay? And we have the 3 of Cups. We've got the 4 of Wands. We've got the 10 of Pentacles. Ooh, and the 10 of Cups. Oh, pile number 2. This is how you actually like want to see something go. Like, lighthearted, fun, commitment, going places together, enjoying yourself, you know, belief in the future that something beautiful is possible for the future. I actually feel like something is going to improve when it comes to your communication and with your love relationships. And I think it's good at the end of the day. Pile number 2, this is a critical piece for you as far as having positive, healthy relationships in the future. It may not feel like that right now. It may have felt like, you know, itchy sandpaper on your skin as you were kind of going through the discomfort of this. But at the same time, I think this lesson that you've been going through it's really setting the stage for some fantastic energy with people who truly get you. And I see that in the form of friends. I see that in the form of like really enjoying your life and what it has to offer you and enjoying your surroundings. I see it in the stability that you're cultivating. And I see it in the feeling emotionally at ease with something. Okay, and feeling very emotionally at ease with another person. Like, I can openly communicate my feelings, and by openly communicating my feelings, I put myself in a chance to have like a more stable foundation with a person in the future. Okay, so even though it can be hard to say things and take that leap and put it out there, I actually feel like you're kind of like, this has been like a training period for like something really fantastic to develop in your life, okay? And I just feel like the right people are going to celebrate you. They're going to like, you know, be there for you. 10 of Pentacles, they're going to celebrate you. 3 of Cups, they're going to want to spend time with you and go explore with you and try new things with you. 4 of Wands, and they're going to be able to just also enjoy a peaceful, calm day with you without having to make something more than it is. And that's where, you know, that's where we can just be kind of comfortable around somebody and we can feel very satisfied with what we've created. And for those of you that are wanting to like increase your friendships, your finances, etc., I do see good things there for you too. And it's really come down to this one lesson about avoiding your feelings or avoiding saying how you're feeling, pile number 2. And because you're taking that lesson head on, good things are happening for you in the future. So that is what I am getting for you, pile number 2. I hope that that reading resonated for you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, and your feedback. Take care, my lovelies. And let's move on to pile number 3. Okay. Pile number 3, welcome to your reading. You chose the Lion, and today's reading is called Time After Time, and we are looking at Saturn turning direct in Pisces on November 4th and what that means for you. Saturn has been retrograde since June of this year, and so we're incorporating the lessons that we've been learning since the summertime. So let's go ahead and get into it for pile number 3 and see what messages does pile number 3 need to know as it relates to this Saturn period. What message does pile number 3 need to know, please, as it relates to this last Saturn period? Okay. Woo, I like it. I like the way the cards are coming out. It's like very spicy and feels very like determined and confident. Ooh, pile number 3. There's the 3 of Swords. Are you guys healing from a major heartbreak or a major setback in your life? Are you finally coming to a phase where you're feeling stronger, more determined, and more yourself than you have for a while? Because I feel like, you know, this Saturn period has been really, really tough for you guys. And when we see the 3 of Swords, like oftentimes the 3 of Swords wants to be counted. And so it's like for the last 3 months or for the last 3 years, maybe even for some of you, like it feels maybe like you were just picking up the pieces or just kind of putting stuff together, but it didn't really make sense and you still felt like crap. But I feel like the whole time you didn't really stop believing in yourself or in your spiritual strength to kind of get through those times. And I feel like, boom, you guys are kind of like coming, I feel stronger, more determined, more like able-bodied, all of that. So perhaps some of you have been healing your heart. You've been working on some physical challenges maybe as well. But coming through this Saturn period feeling stronger is amazing. Pile number 3. We have the Moon here. Oh, okay. We've got messages, good news coming in. Stay positive. Okay, very unsure about something with the Moon and the direction that something is headed. But it's like, okay, stay positive. There's good things coming in. Beauty raises my vibration. I seek it out for healing and joy. Ooh, I like that. I really do. We have cycles, change, and completion. Yeah, feeling stronger, feeling more determined than ever. And it's like through this period of uncertainty with the moon and through the fluctuations that you guys, emotional ups and downs perhaps that you were going through, I feel like you come out of it like holding your head high, pile number 3, okay? We've got deception and temptation. And so we can see clearly you guys were dealing with somebody very painful, very hurtful, somebody who really lied to you, I feel, and put you through the ringer, okay? But I also feel beauty raises your vibration, and I feel a glow up coming on, pile number 3. Have you been feeling like perhaps you could be on the verge of a glow up, or you recently started experimenting with a new look, or you experienced with, you know, because sometimes when we go through like a really deeply painful, transformative experience, we want to like, it's almost like we want to look different to match how we feel on the inside, like changed and altered forever. You know, and I kind of feel like there was somebody who always used to tell you guys good night, or maybe you and this person always said good night to each other in the past. And perhaps some of you, because you aren't exchanging these things with this person anymore, it feels maybe kind of lonely. And maybe you didn't know where anything was going to go, and you were just kind of trying to stay positive and wait for something to shift or change. But I also feel like, you know, regardless of this situation, your beauty and your ability to be self-confident and have self-worth increases your vibration and increases your joy and allows you to become a lot, you know, a lot more stronger and self-determined than maybe you felt in the past, pile number 3, okay? And I just heard no more sexy sleepovers, okay? So maybe some of you are like, yeah, I haven't been having sexy sleepovers with this person anymore, or I put my foot down and I'm like, you know, I'm not having anymore, because I feel like you guys are saying like it doesn't go anywhere, like with the moon, and it's always, you know, and perhaps it really, every time this person comes around or every time they kind of come back into your life, it creates, you know, some mental, you know, maybe some mental instability or depression, or they come back in, but then they're gone and then you're sad. And I feel like it's like you guys are kind of like, I'm done, you know, I'm tired of this emotional up and down is what I'm feeling, okay? Ooh, it says, listen, bitch, you are one decision away from changing your life if you want to. Wow. You are one decision away from changing your life if you want to. Okay. And there may be some good news about something you've been waiting on, a letter, an offer. I just saw the word mommy here too. And perhaps there's, okay, with the moon, perhaps some of you got some heartbreaking news about, it's just, the only reason I laugh is because I'm like, really, mommy? But maybe perhaps some of you got some message about your mom, or her health hasn't been doing very great, or there's been some problems with that. And you've, you know, perhaps during this Saturn retrograde period for the last couple months, maybe some of you are realizing that your mother's health hasn't been that great. And I do feel like there's good news coming in. Stay positive. This could be a female relative as well that hasn't been doing well or hasn't been feeling well. I do feel like there's going to be positive, you know, there's going to be positive news about this situation. And I do feel like you're going to make many more memories with this person, pile number 3, okay? And because I am seeing the word memory here. And yeah. And, you know, I know it's hard to let go of the memories as well when you're like trying, and I'm not talking about necessarily a parent that was really good to you that you loved. For those of you that have lost your mother too, and it was very painful for you, and you've been, or a female relative that you're very close to, I just want you guys to know that I see you, that I'm I recognize you and I see you for what you've been going through, okay? So I just want you guys to know that. And I do feel like a cycle of not knowing what's going to happen or not knowing what's coming up around the corner, I do feel like that's going to come to an end. And I do think that's going to help you feel a lot better as far as, what's coming up, because sometimes the unknown is like more scary than anything, pile number 3. And perhaps some of you are also waiting on news on your own health as well. And sometimes not knowing and being in that kind of space of like, what is going to happen here? I'm like really scared. I do feel like you guys are coming out of a rough cycle with that too, perhaps when it comes to health issues that have really been impacting your mental health as well. Because obviously, when we're really worried, that can also, but I also feel like you guys have been, and for some of you, I feel like this could be an old love situation that you ended a while ago, but when you still think about it, it still brings back like pain in your heart, or it still brings back a feeling of, feeling alone or scared. And maybe with the moon here, some of you were feeling kind of lonely during this Saturn, 4 to 5 month stretch that we've had here. And I just want to hold space for those of you that have been in that energy. And if you feel like somebody hasn't been truthful with you, or they're not, somebody has been lying to you, I feel like, you are one decision away from changing your life if you want to, okay, is the thing here. If you want to, if that's what you want to do. And I feel like when you get a certain message about something, things are going to change and shift. I do feel like some of you may be like thinking about moving or going someplace, or maybe you're like, what? Sometimes I just want to leave this town, or sometimes I just want to like go. And I feel like, this is saying you are literally one decision away from changing your life if you want to. Like you could make one more decision, and then after that, you'd come up to this huge fork in the road where it's like, okay, I guess I'm going somewhere else now. We have Panther Spirit, reclaim your power. Yeah, that's what I was feeling. And when I started like laying out the cards, I was like, boom, feeling really strong. And you guys picking the big cat pile anyway with Lion. And I feel like you guys have had to be very courageous and brave during this Saturn period. And you have been waiting patiently to hear about something, and perhaps this waiting has also, you feel like, has kind of like, particularly if it has to do with this liar or this person who you always are getting half truths from, or you're never getting a fully satisfying answer to something, and I feel like you guys are kind of asking me like, Natalie, is this person lying to me, or did they lie to me? Pile number 3, I feel some of you have that question, and some of you here know already that this person lied to you, 3 of Swords. But if you're like, I just want to know if they lied to me or not, I feel like if you're really emotionally, like if you feel like every time you try to talk to this person and you never get the full story from them, and there's always other things coming out, pile number 3, this person is lying, okay? I just have to tell you that, and I feel some of you already know that, but you maybe didn't really want to maybe admit that to yourself, but I feel like you're almost at the point where it's too painful to kind of like wander around not knowing, and you're just like, you know what? And I feel some of you here are gonna get like really positive news. It could be about a job or an opportunity. It could be good news about your health. It could be just something that really picks you up where you're like, okay, I feel strong again. I feel like myself again. I feel like I'm not going to let this person fuck with me, and this person could have fucked with you, pile number 3, in a moment where you were feeling kind of weak or you were feeling vulnerable. Do you know what I'm saying, pile number 3? And those are the lowest of the low losers that mess with people when they're at an extremely fragile and vulnerable point because of other issues in their life. Like, that is something reserved for people who are truly the spawn of Satan. So, you know, like, I feel you guys are on the verge of saying, I'm done, I'm through with this, and perhaps some of you have already said that. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna sit here and take all of this. I'm not gonna sit here and take the guilt and the blame and everything for everything that's happened here. Like, this person needs to own up. And so I feel like this reclaim your power is like you guys really getting serious about, you know, like, I'm not gonna stand for that, and like really hardcore standing up for yourself. Good for you, pile number 3. Good for you. We have awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. Yes, this has been, you know, no more being, you know, stuck in the dark about something. And I feel like you guys are the kind of people that it's like your vision becomes even more clear in the dark. And it's like, look at this panther with these green eyes. Like, a lot of times you see big cats in the jungle. Well, most of us will never see a big cat in a jungle, but you see a big cat in the jungle at night and all you can see is their eyes. Isn't that wild? Yeah, pile number 3. And I mean, I feel like you guys have earned this ability to kind of like see through things, or see through things in the dark. And the next phase is a awakening and an energetic upgrade for you after ending this very difficult cycle. And for some of you, this could be longer than just this like Saturn period. It could have been like the last 3 years that you've really been going through a difficult and challenging cycle. But I do feel like good news is coming in, awakenings, lightening things up a little bit here for you. And embracing a new way of being is something that's really going to make you guys feel empowered, okay? We have patience here. So patience, and that's something that Saturn really has to teach us. And when we're going through incredibly transformative phases that are very emotionally challenging, like, we do have to be patient with ourselves. And you guys are maybe like, I just want to get to my bad bitch era right now, Natalie, you know? And it's like, I know, I want you to get there too, you know? And it says you're one decision away from changing your life if you want to. But I also feel like you guys, this Saturn period has been very wisdom oriented for you guys, because it's like, okay, I need to be patient with myself right now, because like, you know, this is a lot. This is a lot that has been going on. And I need to take my time with my decisions, and I need to take my time with what my next move is. And I think that that's wise, pile number 3. And it's also brave, because sometimes it's easier to just, you know, check out and whatever, and just run away from your problems. But to actually have the patience to deal with the pain, and to deal with the letting go and the saying goodbye, and to deal with, you know, being patient with yourself and your healing process, your emotional healing process. Like, you know, it's a lot, but it's also like very worth it, because I feel like Spirit is also saying, in a way, like, savor this period in a way, because like, once you're going through an awakening right now, and you're learning so much about yourself, and you're becoming more wise. And so really soak in the wisdom that you're learning right now, and be proud of yourself for, like, you know, mentally handling things like an adult. And, you know, sometimes we can be, it doesn't matter what age we are, but learning how to be patient and wise with ourselves and other people, and the ones that deserve it, right? But learning how to be patient and wise with ourselves and our decisions and our choices, like, this is a very, you know, quote unquote adulting type of a thing. And I love that, pile number 3. You know, Saturn will really teach us the business of adulting, and I like that. We have focus here. Wow. Okay. And of course, Saturn really does have to do with focus and concentration for sure. And perhaps, we see the green eyes here. Perhaps some of you guys have been, a little bit envious of other people at times. Like, it's not really fair. Like, I see other people and they're not having to go through all this shit that I'm having to go through, and it kind of pisses me off, and I get it, pile number 3, I really do. But I also feel like the process of what you're going through is such a huge closing of a cycle and a chapter that's completing in your life, and what you're going to take from it is going to truly, like, it's going to inspire you and other people in this lifetime, in next lifetimes. Like, this is a crucial piece, and Saturn always brings us a crucial piece of our evolution, but it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's not easy, and it does take focus and concentration. And I do feel like you guys are on a brink of making a bigger decision about your life. And so it's really key right now that you're patient and that you focus, and that you're making decisions from like a very clear-headed space, okay? It says, for enlightenment, stay in the moment, chop wood, carry water. Yep, sometimes that's exactly what we have to do. Wash the dishes, do the laundry, clean the bathroom, brush your teeth, take the dog for a walk, chop wood, do your chores, although walking the dog can be very fun, but chop wood, carry water. Avoid distractions. Yes, avoid, especially like emotional hangups and distractions about, did this person lie to me, over and over and over again. If you have to kind of ask yourself that multiple times, then it's not really worth asking about it anymore. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I had this whole thing about this person that I had in my life a couple of years ago, and at the end of it, I was like, oh, I think this person lied to me. I do. I didn't want to admit to myself during the time, but I really felt that they did, pile number 3. And, I could have gone on a total, ghost hunt with that, and like asked my tarot cards 35,000 questions, and I could have, gone to another reader, and I could have, like dug deeper into it and tried to find out more information about what they lied to me about. But that is also a distraction. That's a distraction at times. And, sometimes we're pissed off and we want answers, but we have to be careful of overindulging in things like that, or revenge, or I can't give this up until I know, like we have to, and Saturn is very good about teaching us about not overindulging in our whims and our emotions, and that's really, really good, I feel. Chop wood, carry water, avoid distractions, meditate, bring unresolved issues into view. Yeah, before you make a decision, we want to, of course, we don't want to push down our unresolved issues and pretend they don't exist, because they linger in the subconscious mind, the moon. But at the same time, we have to know, like a parent, like we're parenting ourselves, we have to know when enough is enough on that. And when it's time to chop wood and carry water, and when it's time to avoid distractions versus times when we need to bring an unresolved issue to the surface, okay? And that takes a lot of emotional maturity, and to do that, and of course, Saturn really does help with that. And maybe some of you have Moon Saturn aspects in your chart, and that's a tough one to have in your chart, but it's also, I love it for maturing and becoming an emotionally mature adult. So congratulations on that, pile number 3. We have the 5 of Cups. We have the 2 of Swords. Oh, my dears. We have the 9 of Wands. And we have the 5 of Swords. Okay. I mean, it has been an incredibly tough period. There's been a lot of grief and unanswered questions, and I get it. Pile number 3, I do. And sometimes the grief involves like our confusion and the fact that, you know, and we feel like if we keep working on it, 9 of Wands, that we're going to find the answer that we're seeking. But a lot of times what we find is just a lot of pain and tears, you know, 5 of Cups. And, you know, and we're constantly searching for the reason for something, or we're constantly putting ourselves through like an emotional hell, you know, instead of just, and maybe it's like, well, what did I do wrong here? Or why does this keep happening to me? Or just continuing to kind of punish self and, you know, and not really wanting to let something go until you understand, you know, all of your emotions. And I feel some of you guys have been really doing some deep emotional work that's been very hard. It's been very challenging. It's probably been very lonely. I'm sure a lot of people don't really get it. Perhaps some of you have been kind of absent, you know, from people in your life as well, because you've really been trying to understand like your feelings, your emotions, and you've been trying to work really hard at that. But I also feel like sometimes we put ourselves through a lot, you know, like questioning things over and over. Why this? Why that? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? Sometimes we punish ourselves for having like not known better, you know, all that kind of stuff that we do that's actually pretty unnecessary sometimes to kind of put ourselves through. I mean, yes, feel our emotions. Yes, you know, it's like until I resolve this confusion, I can't really move forward, you know, and perhaps some of you have felt like somebody's really been kind of hounding you as well about something, or hounding you about making a choice about something or making a decision about something. And it's really starting to piss you guys off because it's like, I'll freaking get around to it when I will. And I feel like the less sleep that you guys get, and Saturn, especially Saturn and the moon with the moon card here, can definitely have to do with not getting a lot of sleep and insomnia for sure. So perhaps some of you have had a difficult time focusing and concentrating because maybe you have been dealing with some insomnia too. But I feel like there's a relationship to the amount of sleep that you get to the amount of shit that you're willing to put up with, pile number 3. And at some point, if people keep pushing you, you know, 5 of Swords, you're gonna really be like, excuse you and fuck you, I feel, pile number 3, okay? Like, I kind of feel like you're sick of it, and maybe some of you are sick of explaining why you've been feeling this way or why you've been going through what you've been going through. Or you feel like people aren't really listening to you and they're not really understanding like where you're coming from. And I feel like, you know, maybe for some of you that really makes you want to, you know, tell somebody off. And I don't blame you, pile number 3. I don't blame you for wanting, and maybe some days, and sometimes when we're very tired, very emotional, very like, you know, grieving something, somebody could say something to us and literally we could, you know, bite their head off, right? Like we could just be like, yeah. And that person would be kind of like getting their feelings hurt because it's like, well, what did I do? You know? So perhaps some of you have been kind of dealing with that energy too, where I know sometimes grief can create, you know, anger, and it can make us very snappy and short at times too. And perhaps some of you have been like, what the hell is wrong with me? You know, and you've been feeling kind of out of sorts with it. And it's like, I don't even know why I'm still so sad, or I just can't let go. And because I kind of feel like it's more than one thing. Pile number 3, it's been more than one thing. It's the loss of somebody that you really, really cared about. And perhaps some of you going through grief of a family member, losing someone, or fearing losing someone. Okay, I'm getting that here too, but I'm also getting some, you know, situations with lovers in your life or people that you go out with or things like that where there's been fighting or attitude or there hasn't been enough sleep going on. And I completely get that, pile number 3, but I do think it's really important for you guys to take care of yourselves right now and put yourselves first. And it doesn't, and I also feel Saturn does help us kind of keep us in check a little bit too, because if you feel like going off or you feel like saying something, Saturn will help cool that. Saturn is a very like cold planet and a kind of a distant planet. And so if you feel like you're getting a little, you know, people may feel that you've been kind of cold and distant recently, or that you've been kind of pissy lately, but maybe that's because of everything that you've been going through. And it's like somebody says something to you and they're like, well, geez, you know, touchy, right? The moon, I didn't mean to piss you off or whatever. But at the same time, I feel like there's just a lot of people that don't understand like what you've been battling through. And perhaps some of you haven't really wanted to talk about it with the Two of Swords, where it's been very difficult to talk about it, or you haven't wanted to show your emotions about it either. Her face is covered here. So perhaps, you know, you just haven't, like you've been doing the chopping wood and carrying water fully with the Nine of Wands, but you're also like a little pent up and mad at the same time too, pile number 3. And, you know, so I do think it's important for you guys to bring unresolved issues to the surface and all of that as well. But I do think it's a good time to be patient with yourself and maybe be patient with other people who mean well as well, because they may not know everything that's going on underneath the surface. Like you may seem stressed out or overworked or something to people, but they may not know how deep certain things are really hitting you, you know? And so I think that is something that Saturn teaches us as well, like to be patient with ourselves and to try to be patient with others as we're kind of working through things. Do you know what I'm saying, pile number 3? But I think you guys, given everything that you've been going through, like I do feel like you guys have been doing a really great job, okay? But maybe you do need to like open up and talk to someone as well too, and maybe that'll help. You know, maybe you already are and you're like, no, I know, and that's cool, pile number 3. But perhaps it's important for you guys to kind of share how you're feeling with someone, because I feel like locking it in could really, you know, can really kind of exacerbate the situation. And I do think like letting things out will be good for you guys, because you want to make your decisions in your life next. Some of you are on the brink of major life changes, and so you do want to like get stuff out of your system and kind of focus on you know, what needs to be focused on. Okay, so pile number 3, that is what I am getting for you guys. I hope that that reading resonated for you, and I hope it resonated for the other piles as well. I wish you all the best and take care.